Hello, the internet. It is Saturday, the 11th of September, 2021, and welcome back to the channel. Ooh, September 11. I didn't even notice that date. I mean, theoretically, this stream could be dedicated to what happened 20 years ago, but it's not going to be. It just happens to be a coincidental date that it's the 11th of September. Appreciate you all being here. This actually is interesting for me. This is the first time that we're running interviews on my stream. So we've talked about doing this for some time. I never quite got around to it. I didn't have the setup how I wanted. A lot of tech issues, a lot of dramas, and then I worked out that I've already got this software that I've been using, as you've seen on my IRL streams, and I figured, man, let's try to work that out for the cap game. And then it was like, this would actually work really, really well for interviews. So for the last week or two, we've been doing sort of like, I guess, tests, I suppose, like Hendrik's been calling in, Dale's been calling in. I mean, like playing the cap game, having conversations, and the thing works pretty much flawlessly. The only thing that I don't like about it is that I've got to trigger everything with mouse clicks, whereas everything should be Stream Deck. You know, I dig the Stream Deck. That just doesn't have any, there's no hotkey feature at this point for this. Basically, it's Restream Studio. So today, this is the first time we're doing it actually as an interview, and I got Lachlan Sheehan. You'll know him if you watch my YouTube content. You will know the guy. You will have seen the guy. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked, man. We haven't spoke for a while. I don't want to go too deep into things because we'll bring Lockie on in a moment. But I'm pretty psyched to be doing this. I'm pretty psyched that the first person we're speaking to is someone. It's got a great story, great memories, and when we get into conversations, maybe we'll start talking Tracer stuff, and then for the first time, you'll get to hear somebody else talk about it, because I'm always talking about this crap, and I feel like you guys are like, dude, all right, you talk enough about Tracer, let somebody else have a crack. So this is what I'm looking forward to. There's no real format here. We're just going to have a free-form discussion. We definitely have the chat, so if you've got questions that you want to ask of Lockie, anything at all, I'm sure he'll be dead set keen to answer them. So let's bring the chat in here. We've got, at this stage, Rob, Mac, and Mindy. G'day, Rob. How you doing, man? And Mindy, how you doing? Is everything cool here? I feel a little bit weird doing this just on YouTube, even though I am doing it through Restream, and I have put it on Facebook. It's not on DLive. I'm on Facebook, my own personal Facebook. I'm on my photography Facebook. I'm on the Gives a Minute Facebook. And I'm on Twitch and Trovo and YouTube. Fundamentally, this stream will stay on YouTube as a permanent stream, but I'm putting it out there because a lot of crew that I know on Facebook also know Lockie and the photography page. People might come in through there. But if you want to share this out, go ahead and get crew in, and that'd be fantastic. Mindy, looks great on my end. Okay, cool. That's good to hear. So I guess let's not waste any time. Let me bring in Lachlan. If we come over here, I'm going to bring the man himself in. Lockie, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Benin. How are you doing?
Doing well, man. I'm going to give you a cheers, buddy. It's been a while since we've chewed the fat. Like, well, we haven't ever done this online, but what do you got there? What's your beverage?
Today I've got a unknown coffee. It's like a Boss coffee, but it's a different brand, and it's entirely in an Asian language, probably Chinese.
Dude. It's not the first time you and I have had like dubious or strange beverages together, huh?
I do quite like a strange beverage. Yeah.
Is there alcohol in that, or is that just a coffee?
There isn't, but I'm definitely fighting off a hangover this morning. So these are like right now I'm fasting, but like if I need anything, that's that's my shot of adrenaline to get me through.
Okay, we just got a little bit of a glitch there on your end, which is interesting because you have fiber, don't you? You've got fiber internet where you're at.
I do. I have what they call the NBN here. Yep.
Are you not using it now, or what's going on?
Oh, I am using it. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
I'm not cabled in here. I'm on the Wi-Fi's, but
okay.
I could swap to 5G.
You got 5G there as well, dude. You get the fiber internet and the 5G, and we get nothing.
No, just 5G on the router.
Oh, 5 gigahertz.
I'll probably drop the stream if I do that. If I click that,
you probably will. I mean, let's just roll with it and see if it, it might not be an issue. It might have just been a little glitch. But dude, nice shirt by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's out of my closet of Tracer shirts. There's certainly more than one in there.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's actually one of my favorites. I like the original like logo one as well, but that one of like sort of like later era is definitely my favorite. Yeah.
I quite like this one. Peace sign. I've worn that one a lot. And
Yeah.
You know, I think it's already in my photo for this feed, so like I can't double up. Can't
Yeah,
wear the
yeah.
Same shirt.
I always put a collar on for YouTube. I don't know. I feel like it's something to do with like YouTube hating me, and I feel like if I dress up, they'll be like, "No, he's making an effort. We'll promote this guy's stream." I don't think it works. But
You trying to have a desk job at a desk.
kind of. Hey, well, I'm at a desk here, and I'm working. So there you go. I got all those things checked off, dude. Props on your appearance on the Educate Ebony podcast, man. I thought that was like a real. We actually played it here on the stream, and I really enjoyed just hearing you talk about, you know, music, something that's obviously something very close to your heart. You were a good interview, man. That's why I wanted to do this, actually, based on that.
Thank you. I mean, you know, it's something that sort of came a little bit out of the blue, and but I was happy enough to do it. I think as I started on that podcast, I said, you know, I'm really not used to talking into a microphone. Usually I talk into a microphone for about 30 seconds. I make a bunch of strange noises into it to tune a wedge. And then I go and hide in the darkest corner of the room behind a bunch of faders. And that's it.
Yeah. I liked how she said last time, or one of the first things that she remembers of you is you fixing her audio in a car, like fine-tuning the system. That's awesome, dude. And I could totally
I definitely do that to people all the time, and I'm terrible for it. Work car, work vans, trucks, whatever. I get in there and people are like, "All right, Lockie's on the stereo again."
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I need it. It needs to sound good.
Classic.
I can't
not
handle it.
Do you still crank up? I always mixed up which Alice in Chains track this was. Down the River. That was the room check, wasn't it?
Oh, it was.
Have I got that wrong again?
It was. You did.
I always go the wrong.
It was from the Black Gives Way to Blue album. I'm like looking at my record collection to be like, is it sitting there somewhere?
You sure it's not? No, it's not Down That River. It's,
check my brain.
California, check my
my
brain. How can I forget that? Because we changed the lyric to check my grain a bunch of times. How could I forget
It's because
that?
I think in the Tracer sort of post-show or pre-show playlist, Damn That River was in there.
Oh,
so you're going to hear that. You would have heard that during a Tracer show as well. So it's right there in your psyche.
Yeah. Man, speaking of Tracer, I thought it was interesting that... What the hell's that? What? Dude, that's something else.
We got someone else's stream.
Do you know what that is, man?
What?
That's BitBoy Crypto, a cryptocurrency stream that I watch. I literally had that on this morning, and I paused it in the background, and it just started playing again.
That's crazy.
Did not do anything, but BitBoy Crypto talking about the best next Solana, Coinbase versus the SEC. At first, I was like, did somebody just join the stream without any of us knowing? I was like, how did that even happen?
That's excellent.
Let me mute. I'm going to mute that tab just in case that chooses to do that again. That has.
You got any good tips for which crypto I should buy when my industry recovers and I have an income?
Hex.
I
don't want to get too deep into it, but holy crap, dude. Hex has been...
What do you think of Ethereum?
Ethereum. Oh, yeah, man. I mean, if you want to go, you know...
I looked at it about a month and a half ago, and it was fairly low.
Yeah.
Didn't have any money, and I went, I should buy that. Didn't buy it. It's doubled in price since then. Just does it all the time.
Yep.
I got a share portfolio sitting here just drowning, you know, and...
Shares are garbage for me.
They're garbage now.
Biggest confusion for shares with me, I bought GoPro. I think you might remember I bought them before a tour one time, and I paid $24 and I put in $4,000. And on the road on that tour, Jetty and I were watching it get to $11,000, and it wasn't. I didn't have the facility. It's not like crypto where you can just move stuff around wallets. I didn't have the facility to withdraw it. And by the time we got back to Australia after that tour finished, the value had dropped down to about $300. So I missed out on pulling them out at like 11 grand, and I didn't learn my lesson, but I bought Fitbit shares, and Fitbit was just going so bad for so long, and then I didn't know this, but if the company gets bought, like if someone acquires another company, they can just cancel the shares. And like, I was ready to ride this thing right back down until hopefully it went back up in 20 years from now. And then I get this thing in my account saying your dividends have been paid out. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't ask for my Fitbit shares to be paid out. They just paid them out because they got acquired by somebody else, and whatever the value at the time. So you don't have a choice in it. You lose. But
that's crazy. I didn't even know it worked quite like that. I thought sometimes you end up with shares in the company that's bought them, but you get...
That's what I thought.
Like a proportion or something.
Yeah. No, I just got it in my account, and I had to ring the bank saying, what's this dividend from Fitbit? I didn't sell anything. No, they got acquired by, and therefore they paid you out. I was like, what? But man, on that crypto note, interestingly, did you know Mike's into crypto? Mike,
for those that
don't know, Mike being Tracer vocal guitar. Yeah,
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, we've had a few chats about his crypto portfolio, and it's kind of, I guess it makes sense. People are like investigating better options and ways to secure the future.
I think it's probably like just a really quick pump and dump, and a good way to get some money in and money out before.
Yeah.
Rather than watch a company get big and then collapse because they didn't, update to digital or something.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
I reckon it's a quick way to get money in, money out. The idea of it being a currency seems to be a way off yet, and that just one of them's going to be the currency, or two of them. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Don't listen to me. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into crypto because there's plenty of other things to talk about. But I got introduced to it through live streaming, basically. Live streaming was like, you're earning this thing, and all of a sudden this thing has value, and then the next thing you know, the value's increased greatly, and then everybody else is talking about this other thing that's got more value, and then all of a sudden you've got a portfolio. And so I'm deeply into it. That's why that thing was in the background. I was watching it while I was waiting for you to come on, which I thought was interesting. For those that wanted to know, I got a message from Lockie saying, I'm scrambling, but I'll be there. And I was like, that's not the first time that's happened. Hey,
it's, what's funny about this is, I've been trying to solve a tech issue for someone else all of this morning.
Oh, really?
Someone else is messaging me. They're on a desk going, still got sound coming out of left, right, and I've got it muted. What's going on? And I'm like, have you checked your pick points in menu options C, D, F? And they're like, oh, no, they're fine. And it's like not even been resolved, but it's okay. I'm like...
So this is for a show today? Someone's doing it?
Someone else is doing a show, so...
Oh, wow. Shit, dude. Well,
I'm sort of the leading expert in Adelaide on Midas M32 consoles, so everyone sort of rings me with tech support. Yeah.
Well, if you've got to jump off and answer that call, I understand.
We're all good.
I was just thinking how funny it was. Like I began the stream, and for those that don't know, I've got a waiting room where Lockie would jump in, and then I'd start the stream. And we, in an ideal world, we would have had a chat in the waiting room before the stream went live, but just the way it worked out, Lachlan wasn't there, so I went live, and it reminded me of that time coming off England to France, and you weren't in the bus, and we were like, well, we got to go, dude, and we just drove off the boat.
That was Sweden. That was
was it?
Getting off of a ferry in Sweden.
Okay, I can't remember. I thought it was England.
Well, it's because we got off a ferry, and we would be doing that in England. We one time went up to Sweden, and I just had that moment, just trying to finish my breakfast, and I went, I'll go back to my room to get something. They said, get off the boat. And I went, oh, these things take ages. Passenger dismounting from a boat. This would be half-hour process of lines. And went back to the room. There's cleaners already in all the rooms. And I've gone, uh-oh, and started running back. And, I'm getting all these calls from Dre like, okay, we're in the van. We are leaving the boat. You are not in said van. This may be a problem. And I think some dock worker ended up driving me, through a bunch of chain link fences back to the van.
That was a classic, dude. Because from our point of view, we were like, well, he knows the disembarkment time. He knows where the van is. if he's not here and we have to drive this thing out of the bottom of the ship, what we can't stop. We have to go. And it's like, all right, he's not here. We're looking around. Everyone, nah, he's not here. Okay, we're driving off.
I'll be a stowaway. I'll just stay on the boat and end up back in, Kiel in Germany or wherever we came from.
Yeah. I thought it was England, but dude, I don't know about you, man, but whenever I think about those tours and whenever I try to tell stories, I invariably get dates wrong. I get the tour wrong, and I often get the venue wrong. And I've got the videos of it as well. That's the weird thing, hey? Like,
it's tricky. I mean, I was talking to Jet the other day about a live recording. I think during one of the last lockdowns, I pulled out some old Tracer multi-tracks because I didn't have many multi-tracks. Because
I was going to ask you about that, actually.
The desks weren't very capable of it back then.
Yeah.
And so the last tour, I had one, and I go, it was from Rock Cafe in Hamburg, and he goes,
oh, fuck.
Oh, he goes, oh, Reeperbahn Festival. And I went, no, it was, we went there again with the Wires, and we did a headline set there. And I reckon it's that one. Because we did you know what I mean? We played some venues multiple times.
Yeah,
it was that tour, and you go, and I'm listening to the audio going, no, that's not Reeperbahn Fest, because Reeperbahn Fest was a shorter set, and there was only one floor tom, and,
you can remember the specifics of it.
Sort of, I often remember some things really well, and then others really bad, and things get real confusing. I don't know how many you did in the end. I don't know if you did maybe 7 tours with those guys.
Yeah, I think so.
I did 6.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing to think now that, I'm here in Adelaide and I'm just doing stuff around the place, and sometimes I do a national tour, but there was a time in life when, every 9 months, every 6 months, we'd be out on an international trip.
Yeah.
You'd do 3 months straight. You'd do 37 shows or something. A couple of acoustic sets thrown in there for good measure.
Yep.
Yeah, it's totally different world.
It's weird, man. I have such favorable memories of that, and I can't, like, whenever I get talking about it, I can't really explain it to somebody. It's like another life, hey? Like the road.
It is.
And I always say it. I always finish the conversation by saying, and I'm not even in the band. Like, imagine how it felt for Mike, Dre, and Jetty. Like that's their band, and like you and I were just like lucky ring-ins, I suppose. Like,
absolutely.
But man, I would drop everything for those days again. Like,
100%.
Literally, just drop whatever I'm doing for that again. But look, to be completely frank about it, it's not. I always get people ask me about it, like, what's, Tracer, how come they're not performing? But why? And I'm like, I don't have the answer, and it's not really, like, I don't know how you feel, but it's not for me to say why or what. Like, it's the music still exists, and you can listen to it and you can enjoy it, and I think that's the best thing about it. Like, the music will never change, right?
Absolutely. I mean, have you by any chance seen Searching for Sugar Man?
I have, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that maybe 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. I'd actually heard his music. People had mentioned him, and I knew he'd played at the Gov, and there's posters of him at the Gov, and when he was playing at the Gov the first time, there was a lot of a buzz around it. People going, "Can you believe Rodriguez is coming?" And I was like, "Oh, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Who's this sort of character?" And I watched that, and guy had never been to South Africa, didn't know he was famous there, and I've got a little orange sign saying there's problems with my stream.
Uh-oh.
I'm still working though, still up.
I don't see any issues here. Interesting.
Okay. But yeah, he had no idea he was famous in South Africa. He was also, they didn't mention in the documentary, he was also famous in Australia.
Ah, okay.
Too. I mean, not so famous that we all know who he is, but people in the know, people in the folk community knew who he was, and he toured here in 1979 or something.
Yeah, right.
And he supported Midnight Oil in 1980.
Wow, it's a strange lineup there. Midnight Oil and Rodriguez. Yeah.
Yep. There's a live album. There's a rare live album of Rodriguez live in Australia.
What tour would the Oils have been touring, or what album would they have been touring at that?
Don't know. It's pretty. Yeah, that because you're talking early oils, it could have been like head injuries or something. Imagine Rodriguez going up there and I lost my job, and then you know, that is a strange. Yeah, there's videos of him playing at the Gov with the Break, which was
that's
surf rock band
from the drummer
Midnight Oil.
Yeah.
I
shot them in at the Gov, I think.
Oh, there you go.
Dude, you were there. Rodriguez was opening that show?
No. I reckon they supported Rodriguez, and they played in his band. I think they actually Rob Hurst played in Rodriguez's backing band on one of those Gov shows.
Wow.
I found a video of him playing a cover of Redneck Wonderland at the Gov, like just someone's handy-cammed it. With, you know, two members of Midnight Oil, you know.
Yeah.
Just, you know. But, you know,
wow.
but the thing is, though, that, you know, he made a vinyl in, 1970, 1971. He made a second one. And no one ever put it down. They had it in their collection. They listened to it for 28 years before he resurfaced. You know what I mean?
Like, I see what you're saying.
The music's out there in the world, you know?
I see where you're going, yeah.
And people pick it up sometimes. They find it in a record store. Even I've heard stories of local bands here. There's a band got a record for somewhere in the shelf over here called The Secret Game. Crafty's the lead singer. Before that, he was a band called Close Call, I think.
Okay.
And he had some story of some kid found his record in, you know, one of those record stores, and was like, he found him, like, got him to sign it, and was like, and he was like, oh man, did you ever, you saw us live a couple of times? He's like, no, I never got a chance to see you live. Like, oh my God, we play live, sort of thing. He's like, oh man, that was my local band. You know, we disbanded 10 years ago, sort of thing. But, you know, someone can still find a piece of vinyl or a piece of, you know, CD disc, MP3, and you can fall in love with a bit of music that maybe you don't know what happened to that artist.
I see.
Maybe they're not around anymore. Maybe you don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that there's two things with that I want to hit as well. I guess not frustration, that's the wrong word, but what kills me, like, and this is just my opinion on Tracer calling it a day. What kills me there is that we don't get to see or hear anything new from these dudes that have already given us absolute gold. And just imagine what could come later on if things were different and if money was better and everything was hunky-dory, we might get like the greatest thing ever. And we won't, I mean, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but unless they're still writing and recording, and actually we got a little information from Isla, Dre's daughter, came in the chat one day and said, no, they're still playing together. So that was like, oh, okay. But
Isla came in the chat.
Yeah, she popped in and she said, "Oh no, Dad's been rehearsing with the boys." I was like, "Rehearsing? That might be the wrong word. Rehearsing for what?" I didn't want to pry, and I didn't. It's not like that. But what kills me is that the idea that they're sitting on their hands and Mike not writing vocals. That's a waste, I think, for everybody, and mainly them. The other point I want to hit with that is that I was thinking in the lead up to this chat, came up with this idea that, and I don't know if you've seen it, but I came up with the idea that I haven't heard or read anything negative about Tracer ever. Aside from Richard Kingsmill saying no to them back in the day, that's not the right music for this time for Triple J, I've never heard anything
Did he
bad.
actually say something specifically addressing them, did he?
Yeah, well, when they were pitching everything before Europe, and I'm not speaking on their behalf, I'm just sort of recalling what I was told, but
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, when they were pitching everything to Triple J to sort of get their start, when the decisions weren't made what was going on, whether they were going to base in Europe and tour there or do Australia, apparently he'd said that, no, this is the wrong time for this music. But that is the only time I've heard or seen anything written about this band or about that band in a negative light. Have you seen any? Have you seen any negative reviews?
I can't think of anything negative. I'm almost wondering if that's a sign of not success. I mean, I think you've made it when people hate you.
I mean, yeah, okay.
I wonder. I almost wonder if that's you have to get to a certain level to make people passionate enough to hate you. Is that maybe a thing that until you've stirred the pot and made some real controversy and said something bad like Lars suing Napster or something,
All right.
No one's gonna really.
Yeah. I mean, negative
But
publicity
I
is
think
good.
it might also, I don't know, it might also be a thing that if you're a band of that size where someone who wants to go out to a gig like that and see a band in a 500 cap venue, they almost see you as a bit of treasure they found, So anyone who's in that room is there because they want to be there, and it's an awesome thing to them. It's like finding a bit of gold when you're out, looking through a quarry,
And there's only a few others there with you, like a limited amount of people. You're not in a huge stadium where there's like 20,000 of you that have found that same gold. So you kind of keep it to yourself.
But on that point though, I think Tracer supported a lot of bands back in the day too, so we did tours with The Answer, with Blackstone Cherry, with Black Label Society, with Apocalyptica. And it seemed, certainly from my perspective, that they made a great impression on all those bands. All those bands were really happy to have them on board. Gojira as well, they're out there opening for Gojira have gotten huge now. I don't know if you followed that.
I'm
really big now.
Yeah. Dude, it's
yeah.
It's just great to hear you say this, because I say this nearly every. So on the Cap game, which is a music guessing game, this is going to tie back into the desk recording stuff too. But whenever anything comes up from that era or from those tours, I start talking about those shows and basically just saying what you said, but I get sick of saying it, and I'm sure my audience gets sick of hearing me saying it. So it's nice to hear somebody else saying it. Yeah.
But I mean, because that was that first tour I went on. We started in about April of 2012. We were out there till July 5th. I remember those dates because it was my first one. I was all excited.
Yeah. What one was that? I can't recall.
So we went out, did a UK headline tour, sold out the Plug. Had a huge number of people in Islington O2 Academy.
That's right,
it was sort of like, they're like, oh, look, we won't open the balcony, we'll just sell out the floor sort of thing,
Yeah.
And then, 2-level venue, the balcony opened up, and from what I was told, there was about 7 rows deep of people up on the balcony too.
Damn.
And a full floor. Tunnels were packed. Manchester
Bristol
Academy 3 had a ton of people in it.
Yep.
We were doing all those gigs, and then we went to mainland. I reckon we did 2 shows with Gojira. We did a show with Head Charger. We did a bunch of little festival dates.
That's my memory mixing up.
Yeah.
Didn't Head Charger and Gojira and Tracer play a show together, all 3? Because I got that photo with all.
They were at a show. So we supported. How'd this work? I reckon we played with Head Charger. We played with Gojira. They played with Gojira on another night, and then we played with Gojira on another night or something.
Right.
And then so they all were buddy, and so that we all came and got that photo in the dressing room with all the guys from Head Charger, all the guys from Gojira, all the guys from Tracer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
I mean, I know the photo exists because I took it, but I was like, and some of that stuff. So it's hard for me because I only vlogged the last 2 tours, but I obviously videoed all the tours, but it wasn't for me. So I've just documented everything, and then I get confused with what made it into a vlog and what made it just into the archives, like still just sitting there. That's where my mind sort of mixes everything up. But on that note about the desk recordings, that's good that you brought that up, because we've got, so when I play this Cap game, it's just my iTunes collection, all my local music that I've collected over the years, just playing random. And so often it pops up with those desk recordings. And I always...
No, you don't have that in your library. Oh, wow.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. That's where I listen to my music. But what happens is, I always say, and when we're playing the game, you've got to guess the artist. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to force you to guess this if it's not a public release. Like, this isn't something you can go and buy. So therefore, you shouldn't have to try to guess it. But then it comes up the question, or not the question, but the conversation about some of them are pretty badly recorded. And I'm like, yeah, but they're not meant for consumption. They're just meant for the band to hear the show, see which are the peaks in the crowd responses, how the tracks work together, and then tweak it for the next night. But you just said that you had a few that were multi-track. That's pretty rare.
I don't have many.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's all boring technical stuff, but
dude, I find this enthralling.
The ones I'm cut up about that I don't have is the Apocalyptica Tour stuff, because I was on what was at the time an awesome console, and that was capable of multi-tracking, but you had to have a specific card. There was 2 different card options for it, and I said to the system tech, Dirk, I said, can I get some multi-tracks? Can you check what card option you got in this? And he went, yeah, I'll check. I'll see if we've got the HD or the LE card. And he came back and he went, we got neither. We don't have any cards in this thing. So, all those shows where we were in these big arenas and really, really huge theaters and stuff, and you know, the production was awesome. Like, I got all these Tascam 4-track recordings. So I record an ambient of the crowd.
Yeah.
And I record just a mix from the desk. It was sort of a bit of a fader mix for it, but not really.
Yeah.
It was a quick one in headphones, like, oh yeah, but I'd often listen to them and go, there's mistakes. There must have been something muted on that send or whatever. And there's a couple of them I've sort of, you know, aligned and gave a little mastering to, and they sound all right, but it's not the same as getting a 32-track multi-track. So.
Yeah. And certainly not something that the band would release as like, here's a live show just to keep you guys sated for the next whatever.
No, that's the thing. I think we talked at times about, you know, doing a live this, live that, and you know, maybe the label were talking about it like it was in the contract at one point, and you know, it just never came to be, unfortunately. But it would have been really good to have done one in, say, London, Islington Academy, or I didn't do Scala on that one tour I wasn't on, and you were on, but I heard that is a really cool looking venue, and I believe Pink did her live DVD there, like an early one.
Right, Scala. So I don't remember the name.
Scala London. So venue that kind of ramped up in London. There's big stair loading apparently. Not that I've been there, but from what I'm told.
It. The one that sticks out in my mind, I think you've already hit it. The one that got bumped up to the bigger room with the balcony. I got that shot of Mike on the stack there. Is that?
That's Scala.
Oh, that's Scala, is it? Oh, okay.
That's Scala.
Dude, that was a huge gig. Hey, that was massive.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. Sorry, man.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, where Mike's up on the Substack.
Yeah. So that would be good to do something. I mean, it's kind of ironic that the best things, well, not the best things, but one of the best things about the band was the live show, but there isn't a live recording out there. It's kind of why I don't mind that they pop up at random on the Cap game, because then at least people can hear it and they're like, oh, they can crank it live too. It's not something that you would ever be able to go and buy or download, but at least you get a once every now and then to hear it and go, oh, that's what I missed out on. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so I got one or two, but they're not the Hamburg Club one. If I can find the Tascam ambient for it, it could be quite good.
I've probably got
corner stage, so it sounds really dead, but the tones are good. So
right,
yeah. If I have another lockdown, I don't know. I don't want to wish on another lockdown, but if I have a bit of time somewhere, I will try and make a live mix out of that, and
yeah.
See what the guys say. I'll put it back to them and be like, "Here's this one. See what you think." So
I mean, that's the other thing. Like why would the boys want to put that out when
they probably wouldn't?
Yeah, like it makes no sense. Like the band doesn't exist, and unless there is something coming, like a reformation or another album, then you can talk about, well, let's start building up the ground buzz to get the momentum in gear. It's kind of why I really love that you're here to have this chat, but I probably wouldn't, unless there was something from Tracer on the horizon, I probably wouldn't want to have this conversation with the boys. Because don't forget, it's like, the way I see it, it's like they made the call to end it. So why would, just because we still like it, why would they want to talk about it? It's like a breakup. Like I broke up with you just because you want to continue seeing me. I broke up with you, so I don't want to come and talk to you about it. No, you deal with it. Unless we're going to get back together. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I suspect they wouldn't necessarily want to talk about it, but who knows? You could always put some feelers out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess, I mean, selfishly, we want to see a reunion. We want to see another tour, another album. Of course we do. But like I say, it's not really any of our business, as well, as weird as that sounds. But you can always hope and wish, I suppose. But
yeah.
And you can always listen to the old stuff and really enjoy it. And I think that, like, I really get off on people telling me that they discovered Tracer through Gibbs a Minute, through the streams or through the vlogs or whatever it is. They're like, dude, that band's sick. Hey, like, what happened? And I'm like, yeah, but it's like anything in life, like music and money and living. Sometimes things just get in the way. And like, yeah, you're dead right. They absolutely were fantastic. And go ahead and buy the stuff and listen to it and enjoy it. And that's it. Hey, like that's all you get.
There's something really bizarre about the music industry in that, so if you want to go out and be a plumber or an electrician, you could even go in as an adult apprentice and make some money. You could pay some bills, you could do it for 4 years, and after 4 years you might make 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 grand a year, who knows? If your business takes off. It's music, it seems to be impossible to make a living wage unless you've really reached an upper echelon. Like you could probably make some money, but I think people don't always understand just how expensive touring can be. And I do some touring with bands now where it's sort of like I'll sometimes talk to them like, okay, we're doing it this way at the moment and we're spending a lot of money on things like maybe backline hire, and could we be cheaper? Could we do things cheaper? Because I just want to see touring be sustainable, and maybe instead of going, we're going all out on a show, we're going to spend all this much money on this part of the show and that part of the show, and
just forego the pyro.
Yeah, exactly. Forego the pyro, forego. I'm a big fan of actually being in a van and doing a road trip, I've been doing a lot of touring here in Australia where you just go away for a weekend trip, you get on a flight, you're in a city for, 32 hours or something, and you're back home. And okay, that's all well and good. How much money do we spend getting 6 people onto a plane? Yeah. We could just get in a van and, it would be pretty exhausting to drive all the way to Melbourne or Sydney.
Yeah.
But you might save some money and you might come home with more money. So, I don't know. Maybe that's just the way I think, just because I'm kind of frugal, I'd like to see a world where a band could get to the point of doing a 300, 500 cap venue and pay all their bills, and not have to go home and immediately get back on a work site or whatever.
Right.
I'd like to see a world where that exists.
Do you see that existing, like, and add the international side to it, like going to Europe, and that automatically adds a couple of grand each person, and
I just think that there's probably someone out there who's got it worked out. They've got some sort of business model, whether they've got sponsors or they've got YouTube hits or they've got enough endorsements that they're not paying for all their drumsticks and all their cymbals and all their guitar strings, and maybe even their guitars. Maybe someone's lending them a guitar and a guitar amp wherever you go. Probably, I'm never involved in the financial side of the band. I'm just pushing faders. All this stuff I know nothing about, but I imagine there's some bands out there that they've got it worked out. They've got their system, and they don't earn money while they're off the road. I've even heard, Henry Rollins talk about in Black Flag, I guess they were earning what they needed to survive while they're on tour, but while they're off tour, they were going back and doing whatever they needed to survive.
He does spoken word stuff to keep the money coming in, doesn't he? Yeah.
Well, that's his full-time gig now. He gave up on rock and roll, and he's a great person to listen to speak. I can see why he does spoken word. He's amazing. So
yeah, I've seen a few of his
I remember
shows.
We watched that. We listened to his diaries in the tour van.
We probably did. Yeah. Hey, by the way, to the chat, it's not my intention to ignore you. G'day, Tim. But if I've got a guest on, I'll probably. I mean, you guys can ask questions. Feel free to ask any questions you want. But if
ask questions.
If I'm not answering you in the chat,
even
it's
answer them.
literally because I'm focusing my time with Lockie. But dude, I just quickly on this recording stuff. Hands down, you did such an amazing job on the Armageddon, my That's recording.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I wish Duncan was here to add his bit to this, because Duncan did some of the guitars and stuff with me as well. But what I sent you and what you sent back is like leap years ahead of. I thought what I sent you was a finished mix, and what you sent back is like absolute glitter on a turd. Hey, like I don't know. Like I would love to know the art of what you did there.
I don't even really consider myself a studio engineer, but I think I'm starting to get better at it now.
Yeah.
But what I quite liked about that, and I think we have discussed this, is that you had the artistic direction. So you sort of sent me stuff. You'd already sort of done effects and stuff, and you'd done you know, some vocal harmonies and synth harmonies that were like 50 layers deep. And I went, oh my God, now I've got to mix this. But it was like, but he's sort of done it though. He's gone for this. And I'm like, I'll just grab that and I'll make that wider. I'll make it bigger. I'll make it brighter. And that was sort of the brief. He just sort of said, look, I'm not that good with EQ and compression stuff. You know, can you just sort of tidy this up and that up? And I went, yeah, sure. And, you know, I just used some nice compressors and, you know, a mastering bus that was probably 4 plugins deep, and you know, I just, you know, I pay some money for Waves plugins, might as well use them, you know. So,
dude, I mean, I think we only had like 3 or 4 backward and forward conversations about it. Like it was almost like you kind of know what I'm doing, you kind of know what I want. You know that I don't take it that seriously, so you're like, this is an easy project. And then I think there was one time when there was some of the crossfades that weren't quite right, and then you fixed it, and then it was like one other thing, and then it was like, that's cool, it's done. I was like, and then when because I've got these KRK Rocket 7s, and when I played it,
7s, I've got 6s.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't know how to use mine. When I played it, I was like, what? And I played it back to back with the files that I sent you, and the mastered ones that I thought were finished and the ones that you sent back, and I was like, dude, this is unbelievable. So thank you.
I think I need to do that. I remember doing it at the time, just being like, plugins on, plugins off, plugins on. Actually, no, I had it sitting, you know, I reckon I had you 2 tracks sitting there in the mix being like, okay, I think you'll be happy with this. It's definitely better than the original. You know, just keep track of where I'm going, make sure I'm not going the wrong direction.
Yeah. But I really appreciate you doing that. Like that was, and my frustration was that I still make music, and I did a whole bunch of other stuff, but because like I wanted to, so I lost a lot of money on that process. I ended up making hard copies and basically sold them at a loss, and I sold, I think, 17 of them, and that was international. So I shipped them all out, and my plan was I wanted to give you money, and I wanted to give Duncan money. But when there's less than no money, there's literally no money. So I was like, well, I can't give anybody anything because there isn't any. And so then I've made more music, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do my thing and realize that that was rad, and I really appreciate you doing it, and I'm gonna try to learn how to do it myself. So yeah, I guess I'm smoking you because I couldn't believe how much better you made my shit sound.
Oh, you know, that's the gig, isn't it?
Yeah, you do a good job, man.
No, thank you. I mean, I'm doing a lot more. One of the things I've been doing more since COVID, it's something I've always wanted to do, and I've dabbled in it, but I'm doing live recordings really regularly now and mixing them down.
Oh yeah? Okay.
So the technology's there now. It wasn't there sort of 10, 12 years ago when we sort of started touring. I had live recordings way back in maybe like 2008, 2009, and it meant taking a bunch of rack units with me and plugging them into an analog desk, and I would get a total possible 18 inputs out of the desk. And that was all that effort. Now I turn up with my laptop. Look, to be fair, it's a $4,500 laptop, but
Right.
I turn up with a laptop.
Uh-oh.
I turn up with a USB cable. I plug that laptop into that USB cable. I open the software and I hit record.
And that's it.
That's it.
Damn, dude.
And it's
how much easier is that?
We're at the point it's unbelievable. And when I want to go really crazy, I'll bring my own sound card and I'll bring a plug-in server and I'll do some stuff like that. So I'll use some live plugins and be recording at the same time. But like, even that, this is my plugin server here.
Huh.
This is a hell of a lot smaller than 4, 5, 6 spaces of rack gear, and I put one Cat 5 in there. And
show us that again. Sorry, Lucky. Show us the front face. The. So that's a rack that you take with you to. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the weight on that?
She's actually pretty heavy. It doesn't need to be that heavy. You could actually have something like this, like a mini PC would do the same thing, but
right.
You know, to get the Waves branding and the Waves this and have it work with big consoles, you need to spend money on one of these. So, right. But I can turn up to a festival with a $200,000 desk and plug this into it, and it will just work. So
yeah, okay. Was in the chat says, I used to do live recording swaps with dudes all over the globe in the days where it was all CDs and DAT. Swap between fans, fun times. Yeah.
So DAT tape is what I learnt live recording on. When I went through my tape course, it was still DAT tape. And DAT was, correct me if I'm wrong here, DAT is essentially a VCR tape. It looks
is it really?
Pretty much like, I think it's something else. It's probably, being that it was zeros and ones on it, it wasn't analog, but it was... Yeah, it was like a reel-to-reel tape that came in a cassette, like a VHS, and you'd get 8 tracks on it. I think that was it. So you'd probably have to stack them and have 2 DAT machines, and they would be like, you're talking, to get what I'm doing with a laptop and a USB cable, you would need, 8 racks, 12 racks worth of equipment? Like, looms, everything,
Yeah.
I've still got it. I've got a box here full of looms. I say looms. I'd turn up to a gig with 3 of these and plug them all individually and be like, I don't have enough channels to do every channel individually, so I'll grab kick and snare, and then I'll grab my drum group and my vocal group and my guitar group, and that's my 8 channels. That's it. Now I just hit it, and I'll go full 24 channels of band, take the master bus, take the groups, some ambience on the stage, some ambience in the room,
That's amazing, isn't it? Like how tech has changed. Like even like, I'm just thinking, you said you've got a $4,000 laptop. Are you on Apple there? Are you on a Mac?
I'm still on Apple. Hell yeah.
Yeah. There was a crossover during some of the tours, wasn't there? Where you went from PC to, you had like a, I don't want to. No. You know where I was going to go, but I won't go there. But you used
that you think that I'm an Apple hater? Is that what?
No, I was thinking how funny it was the first time when you brought a hard drive that was gaff taped to the laptop.
Yeah,
that was awesome. That's how you got the name laptop for a while. Hey.
Yeah, man, back in the day, I had no money. Hey, it was like, I reckon that was my brother's old laptop. I don't know if I even paid him for it, and I needed more hard drive space, so I literally got one of these, and it wasn't even like black gaff, it was like pink high vis gaff.
Yeah, you taped it
like
down.
This stuff here, I had that taped to one of my laptops.
Yeah, it was like a bomb. Hey, like, and whenever we went through airport terminals, Lockie was always so slow. Hey, like, because he literally looked like he was carrying a bomb with all of his shit, and we were like, fuck, we're going. He's going to be ages.
It was a funny thing. We used to play these stupid games with carry-on weight, and it was like, you put 30 kilos in below, and I had this big blue.
That's right. Yeah.
It's still sitting here next to me. I've superseded it now, but
yeah. All right.
It's still got all the Tracer stickers and airline stickers on it, but I'd have that checked in, and I'd have all my clothes checked in, and then you'd be like, I still need my Tascam recorder and
Yeah.
all these other things. And so I'd
Pedals.
jam.
Pedals. I remember Mike putting pedals in his pockets, hey?
He did. And I remember him doing that one time, and the security guard pulled them out. And security guy had his pedals, like his guitar pedals, on the desk there. And the dude was turning the knobs on them and pushing the buttons. And I'm like, if you're testing to see if that's a bomb,
it's gonna go off.
Turning all the knobs and pressing the buttons is a bad way to go about it. Like, I actually heard a story from the Screaming Jets. Dave Gleason. They were touring Northern Ireland in the 90s. Need I say any more? And one of the guys in the band liked war artifacts, and they'd gone to a war museum, and in the souvenir shop or something, he'd gone out and bought a dummy grenade.
Yeah, that's gonna set off triggers.
To bring it back to Australia.
Dang.
And then all the Screaming Jet guys have turned around, and there's about like 6 machine gun guards around their guitarist or whatever. And, no, it's a dummy grenade. It's just it's a replica from the museum. It's a dummy grenade. See, if I just pull the pin out, nothing will happen. No, don't do it.
Oh, dear me. Yeah, I do remember all that packing and like the extra weight and paying for this, and that there was one airline brought out some kind of musicians
version.
Yeah, did that fix that issue? Like, could musicians then fly properly without having to worry about that kind of shit? Or
I'm very confused about where that is now, since the airline went under and now it's been bought out.
Right.
But in Australia, it was really good. You'd have an APRA number, and you would get something like 3 times 23 kilos.
Right.
Items, and then you'd have
lots.
I think you'd have your normal allowance on top of that.
Yeah.
So if everyone had an APRA number, each member of the band could do that.
Okay.
And I think they were considered oversized items too. So you could get a I don't know if you remember, Blackstone Cherry had these guitar rigs that are like their guitar case is a coffin shape, and you can put 3 guitars in them.
Oh wow! No, I don't remember seeing that.
They're like an aluminium shell. This is stuff that people who play guitars look at a lot. You're just like, how many guitars can you fit in that case?
Yeah.
You could fly that. But in essence, it was a lightweight aluminium shell. You put 3 guitars in it, and I think it would come in at about, because each guitar might weigh 6 kilos, 8 kilos on its own. These things would come in at about 22, 24 kilos.
Huh.
So you can, as a musician in Australia, you have to fly basically a lot of the time to get to your 2-8s. You can't just be a maniac like me in a van. You could throw 3 guitars on in one of those. You can throw your pedal board in another. Yeah. And you can still bring everything. And everyone in your tour party, if they have the APRA membership, they could do that. So even your manager, your tour manager's throwing in 3 cases. So yeah. So
you could get it. You could make it work basically, but
that's domestic. So I mean, once you go to international, you get to the point where you want to be a gold member or something, and maybe you can bring 42 kilos, and you got to think pretty hard about that. But Mike used to fly amps and stuff. He'd fly amps to and from Europe.
He did have versions of it already over there though in storage.
Sometimes he had I reckon he had a Marshall Plexi, both in Europe and in Australia.
Yep. And
he had a custom-made Neil amplifier that was supposed to be like an Ampeg VT40.
That's right.
And it was always trouble. We were always going and getting it repaired on the road by the guy who repairs like Van Halen stuff and Joe Bonamassa stuff. This Dutch guy would bring it in there, and he'd be pulling his hair out going, the guy who made these rails are terrible. This is such poor build quality. And Mike would be like, can you fix it? I fixed it, but I'm going to tell you how shit it is, And
I always thought that was interesting.
That thing around, and it'd come out the other end broken most of the time,
Those off days where it was like you got, like you said, the schedule is like 36 shows or something, and then like there's 6 shows, then there's a day off, and that day off you would think would be recuperating and like relaxing, but usually more often than not it was like a real long drive to the next country or whatever it was, and we had to go to music shops always to get new things like Dre's sticks or whatever it was, and then you would, and always the night before the off day was a big bender of because we've got a day off. And so you'd wake up late. So then you'd be late to leave, and then you'd spend all day driving, and then you'd get to music stores. And then it's like, oh, well, back to shows tomorrow, 6 more shows. It's like, yeah.
And that's when nothing goes wrong too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's trailer, your trailer lights start breaking, or
or there was
running around France trying to find a repair shop for a trailer, or
or trying to
tail light on the van,
to work out how to get the merch board to stick to the wall, how we're going to gaff tape that up, what we need felt, all that stuff. Like,
what a great thing that I never had anything to do with merch. Merch always looked like such a nightmare. You're trying to get either a person to sell it, or
but all those
sometimes just put it away and then they'd sell it themselves after shows.
All those times though, all those hectic days and like long drives and all that stuff, that's what, in my mind, that's the stuff that comes back. Like, I'm like, it was so rad to be a part of that, because where else would you, like, it sounds weird because, like I said earlier, it's not my band, but yet everything that we did for that entire time on that tour was to make that show work every night. And like, yeah, where else would you do that? Where else would you be that dedicated to a cause where you would, I mean, even like just the logistics of, and I don't know which you favor, the Nightline tours or the self-driven ones. I kind of like the self-driven ones because we're a little family in like, like a little bus where we're all sleeping and farting, and I kind of like, yeah, I just
we had those dialed in by the end of it too, because we went from many different formats. Like when I started with them, we were doing a really, really big van and hotels. So it was a big splitter van. You got gear in the back. You had about 9 seats in there.
Yep.
I did a Nightliner tour, and actually that was probably the best one for me. Was I know you weren't on it. Sorry.
The answer one.
The answer one was awesome because we shared the bus with a band called The Answer from Belfast, Northern Ireland, and all extremely lovely guys. Couldn't get a nice bunch of people to share a bus with, but essentially every gig, you'd come out of the gig, you'd get in the bus. The bus is parked right outside the venue. You don't have to go very far. The trailer behind with all your gear in it, and our rider at the time was something like a slab of beer, a bottle of wine, a bottle of Jacks. Sometims you get a 500ml Jacks, sometimes a 7, sometimes a liter and a half.
No, it was supposed to be a liter. I remember that was written into the tech rider there, a liter of Jack. Yeah.
Well, my memories of this was that I think then The Answer had something like 2 slabs of beer and 5 bottles of red wine was their rider. Their guitar tech didn't drink. Their tour manager was a chick, so she drank
Whoa! An Irish guy that doesn't drink?
Oh, he was English. He was from South London.
Okay.
Mark McDonough. Yep, he was fucking awesome. He he didn't. I don't think he drank. He didn't drink much. Their sound guy drank, and between about 9 of us drinkers, maybe 11 drinkers. I'm gonna say 9 of us. We'd get through that rider more often than not. It would be gone.
Yeah.
We'd save up the Jacks for the days off, and Mike and Dre would basically drink a bottle of Jacks each.
Yeah.
I think they'd put a round of shots for everyone, and then out of the Jacks, and then they'd each go to town on a bottle, and you'd be like,
yeah. And Dre likes his 50-50 mixes too.
You know what? I got a story about this. I don't know what you said, something about Jacks when you live streamed the podcast I did with Ebony.
Yeah.
And it just brought back this memory of, I probably drank Jacks and Coke a little bit in Australia before I met Tracer, but not heaps. And then I went out on tour with them and was used to them pouring them, and you get used to the proportions of it. I remember coming back to Australia one time and ordering a Jacks and Coke at a bar and drinking it and going, did they forget to put the Jacks in? At a bar, they actually put a shot of Jacks in, like one shot in a glass about this big.
That's not how you do it.
You get the Tracer guys, you get a glass about this big, there would be that much Jack in it, and then they just top it up with Coke. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, that's Dre. And Dre taught me to pour it from a distance, from a height, to get the aeration, to stir it all together. But what I was talking about, what we're referring to, I got to give props to you, man. Like,
that was the last tour. The last show of that tour was in Southampton, in England. And
that story. Yes.
And the boys, Dre was like, "Hey, Jack, get Jack." So I was like, okay, because it's halfway through the set, and it's like, this is our...
I'm gonna interrupt. I'm gonna tell you my version of the story.
Yeah, okay.
I think we all went backstage before the show, and they did that. They were big tumblers. These were tumblers about this high, and they poured out
not
Jack
that high. They were high,
pretty big.
Yeah.
They were pretty big tumblers, and they poured Jack out into those at those kind of proportions. You're talking, for a big tumbler, it was probably 30% Jack.
Yeah. You need a liter bottle at that point.
You
can't do a 700ml bottle at that point. You need a liter. It doesn't go around.
That round of drinks was probably a whole bottle.
For sure.
Honestly, between, what was it, the 5 of us. And all right, last show of the tour, and had a swig of that and went, all right, cool. And I'll go out to front of house and put that down by the console, and then maybe I had another sip of it, and I went, I can feel that. I went, I'm not having any more. I went, did the show, I'm there with it, and it's sitting there, I'll move it away, I'm not spilling this on the console. And then you came up to me mid-show with another one of these huge freaking pitchers, basically, of Jacks, and went, Lockie, second one, and I went, oh no, we ain't doing this. And you're like, nah, take it though. And I'm like,
I was instructed. I was instructed that you have to have it. Hey, it was the boys saying this is the last show, man. We got to get it on. Hey, and going because Dre called me like, get the Jack for everybody, and I'm like, yeah, cool. He's like, don't forget Lockie, get one for Lockie. And I'm like, it's not easy to go through the whole crowd to I know where you are, but it's not
room to do that night.
Yeah, not easy to get there. And I'm like, and then I bring it up to you, and I'm like, dude, last show of the tour, here you go. And you're like, nah, not having it. And that's the first time I think I've ever heard you decline a drink, and you're like, nah, not touching it. I'm like, dude, you got to have it. Nah, not having it. Take it back. Not touching it. After the show, I'm working.
I got fairly vocal with you. I don't know if I actually told you to F off or what, but I was like, no, dude, get it away from me. Because I actually have a tendency with drinks to sit there and just sip at them if they're there. So it was like, I was like, just don't. I was like, man, as you know, I'll never really decline a drink, but maybe it's just you've never actually offered me one mid-show, because
like that,
I like a drink as much as the next person, but I'm deadly serious when I'm in front of a soundboard. And I'll have one with dinner. I like having a wine with dinner or something. I don't mind having one beer because the reality is you could have 2 of those and drive. You have one beer, you can still run a sound concert. Let's be real. But like beyond that, I'm like, no, get it away, because I will. If it's sitting there, I will sip at it. Nah.
That night this is the only time this happened for me, but I don't remember the channel crossing. Like we went from England to Belgium, I think, somewhere.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and I literally woke up with a hangover in another country, and we'd crossed a border on a ship, and I don't even remember it. I don't even think I got up for it. I think I don't know what we got very, very drunk very quickly, and leaving that venue. I remember going out, but I don't remember the drive. It's just messy.
I remember packing up all the gear on my own that night. I think everyone was lit, and I was just there, just packing away symbol by symbol, and but I don't know if it was that night, but I've definitely had at least 2 of those channel crossings where I'm like, woken up and I'm like, oh my God, are we still in England?
Yeah,
like, no, we're in France. And I'd be like, did they look at my passport?
That's what I was thinking. Like, who did all that? Who checked it all for me? I don't know who did it. Did anybody stamp anything? Yeah.
And then and hang on, does that mean we were in a van in the hold of a ferry that's doing this stuff in a bunk?
Yeah.
Asleep.
That's funny, man. That's funny. But you know what? When you think back to that, that's kind of rad that in my case, though, that story, that particular show was the last Tracer show internationally. So it's kind of cool to think back that it was such a banger, and it was a really good show too. Like everybody was on.
I reckon there was a fight or an eviction or something. I just remember I had a raised sound console spot, and I remember seeing someone either getting dragged out or pushed out or something. It was I reckon there was a bit of moshing, it was chaos. It was a pretty lit show. Yeah, it was pretty full from all the photos.
That was Everyday Circus, man. They were great boys. Hey?
They were a great band. Yeah, it's good having really good support on with us. Yeah.
When you get a good band like that, and they're good good people, it's just so much easier and so much more pleasant to do, right? Like,
Absolutely. The other one was the Vitals, having the Vitals on.
yeah, they were
That was
rad.
awesome.
Yeah,
The
very
guys,
cool.
I guess the guys were already friends with them, and I'd only just met them, but
Yeah.
that was the sort of thing. They'd pull their tour van over in the same motorway services we're
Yeah,
sleeping.
yeah.
It would be freezing outside, and Dre would be out there with a beer in hand, and they'd all be chatting and that. And
Yeah.
I'd do it for a bit and be like, I'm gonna freeze out here, English winter sort of thing,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Dude, man, what like, I mean, we could talk like this forever and it's rad too, but what is your, like, if you had to say the single favorite moment of touring, and by the way, I can't answer this. When people ask me, I don't know how to answer it, but does anything pop out in your mind? Like,
There was a real pinch yourself, are you here? Is this what's actually happening moment? Was definitely that first gig in Islington O2 Academy.
yeah, okay.
That was mental.
Because of the size of it and the vibe and...
Well, going back into it, this is 2012. I'm 32 now. I reckon I was 22 at the time. And my dream had always been to tour the world with a band. And I went out after it pretty hard. I threw everything at it. I didn't mind being poor. Didn't mind living with my parents, all the rest. And I never thought I'd actually get to do the international thing. And to actually get that at sort of 22 years old. And, even in Adelaide at the time, I was used to doing gigs where sometimes you got a good crowd, sometimes you didn't. And to be thrust into this tour where first night of it, you go in and the room was absolutely jam-packed. The floor was full. There's people on the balcony. PA sounded good. It was on an awesome console, especially for the time. Band played great. And it even was the point of there was label people in the room. I reckon Wouter was there patting me on the shoulder. And I had a friend, Tara, who was there living in London. She was there going, man, this sounds awesome. And I just went, is this real life? What is this,
Yeah.
And that whole first tour was really like that. And it didn't seem like reality,
Yeah.
The other thing there was another trippy moment on that tour was when we went out and supported Black Label Society. Because they were a band I'd listened to since high school, particularly the Mafia album that had, Suicide Messiah on it. And
which was in that set too. Yeah.
Yeah, with the beach balls and that. And Suicide Messiah, the dude would come out. The bass tech would come out with a megaphone and do the distorted backing vocal on a mic with it. But I remember walking into that first Black Label show and, you just, doing this, that, unload the van, this, that. And Zach Wilde must have been doing some meet and greets. And so I sort of turned a corner backstage and there's, 6 foot of Zach Wilde, beard, dreadlocked beard at the time, this, that, the other. Went, oh, fuck me, that's Zach Wilde. This is this guy I've seen in all these videos and that. And there he is in his full Viking form. And
you know who he is and you already like the guy.
Guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really trippy moment on tour to just be like, I don't get really starstruck around people much. No. But then he came into our dressing room. Do you remember that? They're just sitting in the dressing room and he comes in, hey guys, I'm Zach, and yeah, you guys be right with all your internet shit and fucking my buddy Slipknot. Somebody leaked their album early and fucking they lost like 40 grand right overnight and this and that. And Tony Iommi, and he's just there just talking about all his mates, and all his mates are just guys in, Tony Iommi and Black Sabbath, and it's talking about Slipknot and all his buddies and stuff. And where they're like,
yeah,
hi Zach, there's a Viking in our dressing room and he's really, really famous. And he actually sort of took Mike under his wing and was like, hey man, do you want to see my guitar rig? Do you want, gave Mike a box of his guitar strings.
I remember that. I remember they were very, very deep in conversation about all guitar wank. And I walked past and I was like, they'll be there forever. Hey, just completely be like me talking to another photographer about something. They're just yapping away about it. And it was like, it was rad to see because like Mike knows his shit and Zach Wilde knows his shit. So these two can talk about anything together. One of those things that like similar to me, like, and I've told this on the stream before, but when he approached me at the Grass Pop Metal meeting, came off the bus, he came off his tour bus and came up to me and said, hey, I really want to be involved with the new Tracer recording. Can you make that happen? Let the guys know. And I was like, yeah, cool. All right. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I really like what we've seen here. It's been great times, and I want to make sure that we can get this together. And I walked off from that thinking, wow, that's massive news.
I actually saw you after that. You were jittery.
I was like, this is huge news for Tracer, for the band, because like a guy who has made it. Okay, it's more of a hard rock, heavy rock sort of style, I guess, Black Label Society, but they're good enough and the music sort of fits together enough for Tracer to tour with them, and he wanted to be involved in it. And I remember coming into the dressing room to announce that to everybody, and I was like, yeah, I was excited for what that meant. But fast forward the story, basically the money thing came in the way again, and that's why it didn't eventuate. But it doesn't really matter. But the fact that and I guess this goes back to my earlier statement that I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about Tracer.
No, and even early, I'm going to inject into that story another level, which is, I reckon we had done that first show with them somewhere in East Germany. It was Saarbrücken. Saarbrücken, and then the second one was Osnabrück.
Oh yeah,
and
Leipzig.
Leipzig. Was it Leipzig first? I don't know. It was. Yeah. There's a lot of shows. It was Leipzig. Sorry, I feel like you got it right. It's Leipzig. Yeah. Here we go. Now you're correcting me. Here we go. So
you got a little robot voice there just for a second, Lockie. Go back. You just had a little bit of a robot voice. Sorry. Yeah. Continue. But
am I good now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that first show in Leipzig, the crew were fairly intense. They wanted to just sort of lay down the law and say, "This is our show. Get your shit out the venue," kind of stuff. And we were a bit like, "Whoa,
that's right. Yeah,
that was a bit intense." And we just sort of went, "Boy, do this crew hate us or what? Like, are we going to get kicked off this tour?" And we went, "Oh, I don't know. Do they not like us?" sort of thing. And then next show, the same crew guy, I won't mention names because the world's too small, who we sort of thought was a bit rough with us the night before. We turn up in Osnabrück and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm sorry, today's a bit slow. The local PA company don't know what a side fill is. And do you want some chips?" He was like really friendly. And I was like, "Oh, this is weird. Okay." And then after the show, I think I happened to be out backstage, and the drummer, Chad Zelinger, he's a really high level session drummer who was in the band at the time, ripping drummer, closed the hi-hat with his elbow and crazy stick twirly stuff between every hit.
That's how you know.
But I was just out and he was having a cigarette, and I just sort of went, "Hey man, it was a great show tonight," or something. And he was like, "Dude, I love your band. Get me their record. I don't care if I have to pay for it. Go get me one." And I went over to the merch. I reckon you were at merch, and I was like, "Dude, the drummer just said he liked us, and can I get him an album and this and that?" And so I went and grabbed him both albums we had at the time, which I reckon was probably oh god, it was just the LA album and Spaces. Yeah. So I reckon I gave him LA and Spaces and went, "Here you go. I have to pay." No, just have them,
Yeah.
I think that's what he'd done though, is he'd brought them back to the bus and played them around the bus.
Yeah.
And I think Zach had a listen and stuff. And so it was really cool to have a band at that level. Like you say, no one said a bad word about them. They went, this band, because I don't know that everyone on the stream knows this, but if you're a bigger band, a lot of people don't necessarily pay much attention to the support. They don't have to, you know. It's sometimes you're really excited when a band does go out their way to pay attention to the support band. They're not jaded, and they actually go, "These young guys, they could be the next thing,"
Yeah. I think a lot of it too is like, and looking at it from the headline band perspective, looking down at the other bands, it's like you have to prove yourself that you're worthy to be sharing this tour with the main band. Like, and I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but there were particular bands that opened for Tracer that just didn't do that. That just weren't, they weren't worthy of the slot. And like,
I know exactly who you mean. And
yeah.
I'm not going to mention names, but I remember being the one crew guy, and for Tracer and plus yourself, and they had their one crew guy was the sound guy.
Yep.
And he'd be like, oh, I've got a bad back.
Yeah,
like, okay.
yeah.
So he's not going to load the van. All right. And they had a singer as well, and the singer would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm not well. I'm not going to load the van." I'd be like, "So you guys are touring around with a rig? You've got not only equipment, but you got lights and stuff too. Do you think I'm going to load all of that?
Who's going to? Yeah.
Are you paying me? Because you're not paying me. I'm not going to load.
Imagine the headline band loading the support band's gig. What the hell?
And that's what sort of happened, because I would the one guy left in the band who didn't have a broken back and body or whatever, I would grab him and be like, "You're loading this fucking trailer with me."
Yeah.
Because I'm not here to load your shit.
Yeah.
And he'd sort of do it he'd have a beer in his hand, you know, and like I'd have to really, you know, like drill sergeant at him, like, "Man, I'm lifting everything here. You've got to do some of this." Like, because we were sharing a bus, we were sharing a trailer, you know. I've probably given too much away at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, those are the memories, I suppose. Like you're allowed to have your thoughts and opinions, and I guess we're just illustrating a point. But we just talked about good memories. The worst memory I have of touring would be that time in Italy when you and Jetty were violently ill.
Oh,
do you remember that, dude? Like that was, I think it was in Milan. You guys were like just chronically gastro bugged up.
We
the
never
wazoo.
even worked out what had done it. You know, I think don't know if we'd had a kebab, but everyone had had the same sort of. We'd had the same meals.
I didn't get sick,
and
Dre and Mike didn't get sick, but you and Jetty got absolutely nailed by whatever that was.
Decimated by that. I got up and I violently threw up into the sink and stuff, and it's like, "Did you drink too much?" It's like, "No, you know, I had a couple of whiskeys and I went to bed, you know." And I won't give too many details about the story because it's pretty gnarly, but what I will say is I reckon we were coming out of Austria and going into Italy. So the show Benen's referring to in Milan was the one we had to do. We had to do a show in this condition. We were, you know, let's say, ejecting our bodies of all substances.
And every orifice.
But we were going through the snow. We were going through these Alps. And so we would tell the bus driver, "We've got to do some stuff. Can you pull over at the next whatever?"
Yeah.
And I was trudging through snow to get to public toilets in Italian Alps that didn't have toilet seats, and they were like maybe metal bowls, but it's like there's snow on it. It was rough. Like it was properly rough. And then that day, I think we got Jetty on an IV drip because he couldn't get the fluids back into him.
Yeah.
And he never did sound check. I stumbled into sound check with a Italian text looking at me very strangely and just went, "Plug this in here.
Yeah.
Plug that in there. Plug that in there." And you know, I just, with the guys, I was like, "Here's my mic box. You know where they all go. I'll adjust them. You know, I'll go up and just adjust." Yeah, okay.
I remember Dre stood in for Jetty for bass sound check. I remember that. I got footage of that.
But we basically put Jet on stage for the show, and to Jet's credit, I've never seen someone perform in so much agony, but he did it,
dude.
I think he had to run off, let's say, more than once during the show.
Yeah.
And the guys looked at each other and went, "Let's do Voice in the Rain."
Yeah.
What's that other one that they do? Maybe Sleep by the Fire or something. When
Mike
did a couple of solos up there, you know, while Jet was just having a rough time.
And what you didn't see,
I was at the desk, just leaning on the desk, like, "Yep, that sounds fine. I'm gonna just leave that there."
Yeah. And what you didn't see, because you were at the desk, obviously during the pre-show, like the huddle and whatnot. Jetty was on his back, like laying on there was like a bench thing there. He's laying on that. It looked like there's no way this can happen, right? He can't perform, and he's on his back. The boys come in, do a huddle around him, sort of laying down, and then he just goes, "All right, lads, rock show!" Grabs his fucking bass, charges out there, and it was almost like the switch had just been flipped on, and he probably could have been vomiting in his throat while he was walking to stage, and he would have swallowed it to make the show happen. That's
quite literally. And I think like I said, he made actually had to excuse himself for a couple of songs.
Yeah.
It was that bad.
And it wasn't alcohol related, if anybody's wondering. It was
no,
just
it wasn't.
a bug.
We had a couple of whiskeys, and when I say a couple, I actually mean we maybe had 1 or 2 each.
Yeah.
So we'd picked up something. Don't know if it was we had food poisoning.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. We couldn't work it out, but we had some sort of a food poisoning.
Very, very strange, man. Hey, dude, how much time have you got here for me? Like, I didn't even ask you.
Half hour.
Okay, well, I've really got to take a piss. I've got nothing to leave you with here. I tell you what I could do. While I take a slash, I could give you full screen props, and you can just.
I can answer some of these questions. There's some I just read earlier. Do I scroll back about
that's a great idea.
I'll do that. I'll go through the questions, guys. I'll give some shout outs.
Okay, here we go. Cool.
I don't know if I can scroll down now. Can I scroll down through these? Oh, there's another window over here. Hello. All right. Shout out to Was from Oz. I've seen more bands make the shift to multi-effects pedal boards and amp cab sims. I guess it makes easier to travel with. Front House must dig it too. And the answer is yes. At the moment, the King of the Hill is a Kemper. So we have now digital amps. Kempers are basically a digital amp. You could record presets from any amp. You could physically own an amp, and you can get the Kemper to profile it and replicate the sound of that amp. And as a really tuned in sound guy, if you had the real sound through a mic next to the Kemper probably sounds 92% as good as the real thing. I can hear a little bit of difference in the top end. That's just the way the audio works. You need a lot more information to get that high-end clarity. But people can turn up with, something that could be 3 rack spaces deep or 2 rack spaces deep, thread that in, plug that directly into the PA, and that's your guitar amp sound. And they have pedals for it too, so you can be swapping through presets. And yes, that has made touring a lot easier. And you even get... I did a gig once with John Stevens, who was known as lead singer of Noiseworks, but he was also in Excess for a while. He was also in the Dead Daisies for a bit. But so he did a set where he was playing Noiseworks hits and in Excess hits. And so, a bunch of really high-end session musicians behind him. And so the guitarist is just swapping between presets on this Kemper, and, he's ringing up tones that would have been from an NXS album, I guess, and then boom, then he's in a Noiseworks tone. And so yeah, where we are with tech now, the flexibility is crazy. Was just replied, I've used a Kemper once, but I use the Helix stuff, pretty handy. And yeah, there's many brands that will do it. I've even heard some good stuff from Boss. There's the Fractal stuff, which is Axe FX. Metallica actually seem to be using Axe FX now, and part of that is that, amps on the road do a lot of traveling around, getting a lot of pushed around in road cases, in and out of trucks. And you know what? You'd be replacing tubes all the time. Amps have their own characteristics. So the sound of an amp may change day to day, as the tubes get older. And I think Metallica, for all the money they have, they basically went, we want the same sound day to day. And so they've got their Fractal rig. What have we got? Melbourne Road, Westgate Freeway. We've got a traffic report here, have we? Is that what's going on? Zeeburg ferry disaster. You are smashing out. Era Gamer is smashing out Trace from Spotify, and he's loving it, and his wife is not so much. That's great. Turn it up until your wife likes it. Play a ballad or something, and maybe she'll like it better. Who knows, Chuck on Voice in the Rain.
Could that be the first time we've heard someone say they don't like it? Wow. Right here on the stream.
Oh, there you go. I mean, not everyone, you hear naysayers around in Adelaide.
I haven't, though. That's the thing. I haven't heard that ever.
I have, but they were dicks. They're not people whose opinions I value that, would say stuff like, oh, nah, this, that, the other. And some of it came out of jealousy too. I think in Adelaide, we're not mentioning any names, but, some people probably were looking at Tracer going, oh, why are they doing this? Why are they getting these opportunities? And, you know what? Hey, music taste is subjective, and some people will like it and some people won't, you know?
Wow, yeah.
But Tracy got a lot of opportunities because they worked really, really hard and they threw the kitchen sink at it. And
Exactly.
they were willing to sleep head to toe in a Renault Traffic van above all of their equipment, you know?
Dude,
That's what they did for their first 2 European tours.
The first tour I went on, the one
What
before,
was that?
The first tour I went on, the one before you joined.
Yes.
That was the strangest sleeping setup, right? The setup in that van was just, I was in like a little cocooned slot with kick drum as my pillow on a mattress wedged up. And like, once you were in, hey, like you weren't getting out of that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you ran that across the front seat or something. Is that what you did? You built a
No,
bed?
it was in the back. That was a weird setup. That van had like you said, there was
like
bed.
a loft one.
Yeah, a bed on the top, and then underneath where all the cabs and everything were, we just made like a long slot which was 6 feet long, enough for me to slide in. And yeah, it was like it was literally just sleeping. Like if you sat up, you hit your head on the thing. So it's like bang, bang.
Sounds like hell. I really liked the Nightliner bus beds. They were
Dude, I slept so well.
I'd get a great night's sleep in them.
Yeah, man.
And I've told some people that. Some people I'd say about, going into these bunks, they'd be like, oh, that's no way of life. I'd be like, man, I sleep better there than anywhere,
I think maybe a combination for me with the movement of the bus, and also I used to always wear plugs, so I'm very like closed off to everything, but the gentle rocking of the bus is like, you could trip your mind out, and you might be thinking, dude, we're driving on a highway here, we could have an accident and we could all die. But if you think about that, you'll never get to sleep. But if you just go, oh, it's nice and gentle, the rocking motion, off you go.
Yeah, it's a terrifying thought. I remember one time we were in the Nightliner bus and the driver came out and sort of, in broken English, sort of translated to us, we're on a different side of the road right now. You need to get in your bunks the opposite way. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do recall that. Yeah, what was all that about?
I have no idea.
Didn't make any sense to me.
The only way I could rationalize it was that normally if you're driving forward in a bus and you have a front-on accident, you'll break your legs first and then your back before you break your neck and your head.
Either way, you're rooted.
But they were parked maybe in the wrong direction, so maybe where they were anticipating a car might crash into the bus, or maybe a truck might. I'd hate to think of that. It was the other way or something, and we were just like, probably drunk, half asleep already, went, what? I gotta wake up and my feet were just there and now my head's there. And
doesn't make any sense. If you're gonna have an accident, you're all gonna be screwed anyway. I tell you, man, that the first Nightline tour, there was...
Oh, you did Royals.
Yeah, the Royal Republic, yeah. The comment... So, for those that don't know, and Lockie does, but maybe the chat doesn't, but I've pooed my pants as an adult 5 different times.
We've made it to the poo stories.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a podcast with Benin without a poo story.
Without a poo story. I won't tell you any of the stories, but it's happened enough times in my life to be a thing, right? And it usually happens when things are sort of like a change in lifestyle or a change in situation or whatever the difference is. That's usually when this kind of thing happens for me. And so that Royal Republic tour was a very, very long run. And the first day of the tour, we get in the bus and we meet the band and we meet the crew, and Ole, their tour manager, sound engineer, he's giving us the rundown about the situation in the bus and where, that section kind of like for the headline for the Royals, and this is for you guys, this is your bunk areas and this and that. And then he said, and the toilet here, it's just for pissing, no for number twos. And I remember looking, because the band had put bets down to how long it would take for me to shit myself on the road. And I remember looking, like, we're in this sort of circle of the two bands, and I remember looking, when he said it, I remember looking at Dre, and Dre's kind of looked at me like, and the way I connected with Dre, it almost felt like he'd told somehow, I don't know how it would have happened, but he must have told these poo stories, or one of them, to Ole, and then he made this joke about, no, you can't poo in the bus. Like, for those that don't know, you can't poo in a tour line and a nightline bus, because then they've got to remove it, right? Like, you got to go and deposit it somewhere. So it's like an emergency only. And he basically said, there's no pooing in this bus. And I was like, they're setting me up here. Hey, surely, we're going to be on this thing for how many months? And I can't take a poo? What are you talking about? I thought it was a big joke, hey? And it turns out it wasn't. That's actually a rule. And yeah, I managed to never poo myself. The bet went unchallenged. And yeah, I managed to change my lifestyle schedules to not have to poo in a bus.
I look back at it now and I'm like, I mean, I did a gig yesterday where I'd had too many coffees and too many waters, and I'm at the soundboard like, please end soon, you know? I really got to...
Yeah, it's coming.
And you look back at it and go, when we were in the tour van, not the bus, the actual van, where there isn't even a toilet you can piss in, and we were drinking. And we were drinking beer.
Yeah,
how did we ever, like, make it down a freeway? You know what I mean? How did we ever get anywhere without...
Yeah.
I had to hold my piss in so many times. Like, you know, and you'd be like, I'm not having that next beer because, ooh, okay, you know?
Dude, I learned on those tours, and by the way, I got a...
Not to piss in a bottle, is that what you've learned, or...?
No, I've learned that I have some problem, right? I've got a bladder issue. I've actually got an ultrasound coming up in the 2 weeks to... I've got what they call...
You're still pursuing it.
Yeah, it's taken 10 years for me to do anything about it. I got what they call post-void retention, where I don't actually... Well, this is what I think I got. I haven't been diagnosed yet, but I think you don't piss it all out, and therefore you got to go again very, very... And if you keep putting more in and you're not getting it all out, there's a dilemma of volume.
You got to Wim Hof it out or something.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just going to jump over the chat here. Did Lockie mix the songs for Tracer on Spotify? If so, he did a good job. No, I did not. So... Spaces in Between was done by Evan James at Broadcast Studios in Adelaide, which is no longer there, but it was a partner of Mixmaster Studios. Mixmasters is sort of the biggest and longest running studio in Adelaide. It's the best. Empire of the Sun have recorded there and people like that. Water for Thirsty Dogs was recorded by Eric Rikers in LA, and Kevin Shirley, who does Iron Maiden and Cold Chisel and Baby Animals and people like that, did the El Pistolero album in the Caveman Studios. Yeah, you were there. There.
I have all that.
That was also so two albums were done in LA. Yeah.
I have all that footage too, which is like something that at some point, you know, if, like I said, if there was to be something that this stuff could be used as like a G-up, right? We'll have a look at this and then we're going to do it. You know, it could be like a teaser. Why are we seeing this bit of footage of Kevin Shirley? By the way, I had some stuff I wanted to show you here today, but the way this setup is, it just the tech wasn't working correctly, so I don't want to show it to you because it was like the frame rate was so gunky. But that stuff could be used as promotional sort of teaser material, I suppose. But
absolutely, there was a good promo for the last tour that came from all the footage of the Apocalyptica tour. So there was great footage shot.
Yeah.
They just played one of the tracks off Water from Thirsty Dogs album. The one that's got the chant at the dun, 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 dun. I just off the top of my head, I can't think of the name of it, and I got the vinyl here somewhere. But Right Runners, Troublemakers,
Astronaut, Juggernaut. Yeah.
Nah, but
do you have a favorite track of theirs to like? And I guess when you have a track, it's like the one that I like mixing live, like.
That's a funny question if I have a favorite track, because there's so many, you know. It's not they were never ever a band full of filler songs.
No.
You know, there was, I think I really liked Water for Thirsty Dogs.
Right.
When I think they'd just come out of LA recording that, and they had their unmastered album.
Is this
They threw it on the van, and
Dude, I've told
they
this
played
story.
that.
I've told this
I
story
was
many
just
times.
like,
Hey.
oh man, this sounds fucking great.
Do you remember that? In that it was we were coming from an airport. We just arrived in Europe, and we picked up the van, and we were driving. I think we were driving to somewhere north in Germany to bunk down for a while and do show rehearsals.
We were getting a rehearsal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they put it on, and you and I hadn't heard it, and we were listening to it. I remember you and I were like, "Wow, there's fucking angry, hey, like what? It's like aggression on this album, like." Yeah, I've told that story on these streams countless times, where just seeing, like, hearing their work that had changed from El Pistolero, which to be like fair to it, it's kind of a tame sounding record. I guess they didn't even have a bass player at the time. It was a session guy, so it was just Dre and Mike, doing their thing. And then to hear this new fully mixed album, or the unmastered version, it was like, what?
Yeah, I think maybe I'd even heard them play Water for Thirsty Dogs. I feel like it might have been maybe they played at Northern Sound System in Adelaide or something. I reckon they'd done one gig pre them recording that where they'd thrown a couple of new ones in. I reckon they threw There's a Man in. Oh no, that was off El Pistolero. Could have been a different gig. I don't know what gig. But I remember saying to them, is that Water for Thirsty Dogs song going to be on the new album? Mike turned around and went, it's the album title.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay, they like it as much as I do. All right, good.
Yeah.
That's funny. Actually, in many ways, that might be my favorite album of theirs, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think that they got any worse over time. I think they only just got better, and they kept their momentum. They never had really a dud album.
No.
It was still killer, and I'm sure anything else that they would have done or anything they wrote that never made it out of the cutting room floor is probably good too. It never lost its momentum to me, and I don't know what all the fans think, if they like some albums more than others or whatever, but I definitely remember hearing that and thinking, here we go, here comes a big tour, and hear this, and
I go through different phases, but I always liked Wrecking Ball off the LA.
That was always really good live. Because they would throw those in always. There was a couple of those LA ones. It's Wrecking Ball and something else.
That they would. End of the Samurai.
Oh, they'd throw that in sometimes, wouldn't they? That one.
Sleep by the Fire.
Son of a Gun or something.
Son of a Gun was in the heavier set. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, there was a couple of those. I remembered them doing a gig. I can't remember where. Somewhere in Adelaide or something, somewhere in Australia where things weren't maybe going exactly to plan, and they just sort of looked at each other, and then just cracked out a couple of those older ones just to get people in the crowd moving again, and it worked.
Oh, okay.
They read the audience a bit, and they just had a moment where they went, yeah, they're not digging this particular track or whatever. All right. I reckon it might have been Frankie's Pizza in Sydney or something.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
Where it's one of those sort of moshy sort of pub gigs where, some people are in there for,
Were you on that? Were you over here for that, were you? I can't
Yeah, but they might have done it more than once. I did. So they were touring in Australia with the Angels.
Yeah, I was there.
And I did that tour.
And the Screaming Jets.
Screaming Jets, I didn't. I think I don't think the Screaming Jets gave them enough money to bring me along, basically. So I did the Screaming Jets one in Adelaide, and I think they went naked for the rest of the Screaming Jets run.
Naked.
Was Dead Daisies? Did they do Dead?
That's right, Dead Daisies as well. Yeah.
Because I did the Dead. I reckon they toured with Dead Daisies, and I maybe did Adelaide only, and just working on a tight budget for the rest of Australia. And they had all these stories about Dead Daisies, and it's like I didn't see much of it. I just saw the Adelaide gig, and
it was. Yeah, there's a question for you there from Aero Gamer. The actual discs. I mean, it's a good point. Where would you buy the actual CDs these days?
I don't know. You'd really just have to Google it. They probably still exist in circulation.
You might be able to get it on Discogs, hey? Like if you just search it on Discogs.
Yeah, I don't
Someone will
know.
be selling one.
Yeah, you might be able to get a hold of them. Yeah, I don't know if the Trace website's up at the moment, so they go in and out occasionally, you know.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll appear at some point. You'll be able to get it.
You'd probably be able to get it through Mascot for sure.
Surely. I mean, I remember getting. Benon knows this all too well. Lockie's a bit of a Tism fan.
He is indeed.
I'm looking through my record collection as if I'm going to see it, but it's probably deep in there somewhere. I've got. There it is. It's white. I got Tism's The White Albun.
Albun, yeah.
With an N.
Yeah.
And it's a disc set. I'm going to grab it out. It's there. I can see it.
All right. This is show and tell here, folks.
Show and tell with Lockie. Yeah. But you won't see it because it's entirely white.
My cousin owned that. Yeah, that's the DVD release, isn't it?
It's the DVD release. It's got their last ever live show. That wasn't their last ever live show.
Yeah, that's
where
right.
Where they had a
telethon call-in or something.
To raise money so that Tism don't break up, you know. And you know, they got down to $1. It was $1 left you needed to give them so that Tism didn't break up, and people are hurling dollar coins at the stage and hitting the MC in the head.
Now why are you bringing up Tism when we're?
I don't know. Why am I bringing up Tism?
We're asking about where you can get.
I get on tangents, and the reason I'm bringing up Tism is they were long broken up by the time I bought this record.
Gotcha.
And this was on Madman Records.
Right.
So I managed to get a hold of it going to the record label site. Basically, I went to Madman's site and got it.
Yeah.
And someone had said to me, "How did you get this?" And I was like, I went to the label and they were like, "Do they still sell them?" Yeah. And sometimes you can still find old discs on label sites. They've got a catalog, they've got a warehouse,
I reckon there'd still be stuff at Mascot in their storage areas for sure. I mean, I remember actually I was going to show this footage, man, and I was going to ask you whether I should show it, but do you remember there was like an unwritten end of tour ritual involving the self-driven tour bus? Do you remember that?
No. What?
I kind of don't want to. I mean, the band doesn't exist anymore, so I guess nobody's going to get hurt by it. But I got footage of it. The unspoken of end of tour ritual was to go from 1st to 7th in the van, like before you return the tour bus. And I have that footage, why I remembered that is because we were at the label there in, where was that again? Just outside.
Miracle on Rouges.
Yeah, just outside Amsterdam, wasn't it?
Outside of Rotterdam.
Rotterdam, yeah, that's right. Anyway, and I remember
that was my bad Dutch. Berkel,
that's right, yeah.
Berkel on Rouges.
I went through and grabbed like heaps of posters, and like I put them in a big cylinder, like, because they feature my photography, so I've got like all the old tour posters and stuff all wrapped up nicely. And there was something that I didn't get at the time, which I should have, which I did end up buying online, the promo of There's a Man, which is a split CD. Man, I'll show it to you. Hey, it's a single disc. There's a Man, Now I Ride. Is that what it is? Right. Yeah.
I didn't know about this. Didn't know it existed.
Let me grab it for you, man.
Yeah.
Now I'm not gonna be able to find it.
Yeah, you won't find it on cue. You won't hear me because it's coming through headphones, isn't it? Someone give me some questions in the chat while Benon is searching for a CD. It's El Pistolero Red vinyl album. I reckon it is, and I reckon I've got it. I reckon it's... No, have I got... No, I've got Water for Thirsty Dogs on vinyl, and I think that's on green vinyl. But yes, I reckon El Pistolero is red vinyl. I've got El Pistolero on CD over here somewhere. There's LA. El Pistolero, signed by the band.
Dude,
That was the CD.
fully can't find this.
A crystal skull on the CD. Everything's mirrored with my webcam. I can't find it.
Oh, you know where it is.
Give up, Benin. I got all these CDs that are all shattered because the ones I got for free, I thought I'll let the guys sell the pretty in public and I'll get the crappy smashed up ones, and they're only going to go in my suitcase to go back to Australia anyway. So all the CD covers are cracked for those two. But Spaces in Between was on Cool Green Recordings, which was a subsidiary of Mascot Records. So that might be another one you could Google to find it. How'd you go, Benin?
I found it. I got it all wrong. It's a split, Dirty Little Secret and Scream in Silence.
Get out of here. Scream in Silence was a track I really dug.
And that's a like an
They
official.
didn't really play it live much. They tried it on the tour I wasn't on, and I'd never heard it live. But that was one of the ones I heard on the album. Went, I could imagine a video clip to that. You know, it was
Right. Well, this
track.
guy, I remember seeing this at the label and not picking it up. And so I bought it on Discogs not long ago, actually. But I did grab this from the label, which you might not have seen. Hey, that's the single for El Pistolero.
Oh, cool. Yeah, right. I know the photo.
Yeah, so that's just with the tour dates on the back, just one track promo disc, which I thought was pretty rad to have. I don't even know if the band even has one of those.
They might not.
Yeah. Interesting stuff, man. Like, is El Pistolero red vinyl? I've got red vinyl El Pistolero, and I've got green vinyl of Water for Thirsty Dogs. And I got 2 copies of them. I bought one, and I've never opened it. And then I've got one that's open, which I've never played.
You know, I have this trouble too. I've got my Trigger Finger, all this Dancing Around vinyl sitting up there with the plastic still on it.
Did you get that from the tour?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah. They were pretty generous, weren't they, those guys?
They were. That's a band I really could have, would have loved to have seen again. And done more with. They were awesome. That was that same first tour. We supported so many bands. They supported Tracer, actually.
I was going to say, do you remember the lineup, the bill there? It was like, we remember that
Falcon
that poster.
Fever.
Yeah. And then it was like...
I've actually got that poster, I think. Hang on. Do I have that poster?
I probably have that stashed away somewhere too. But that was a strange one. We get this band from Belgium, big band, Triggerfinger, and we were billed above them, and we all thought that can't be right. Like, that's got to be a mistake, right? Someone's messed up. And Triggerfinger were like, no, that's correct. You're the headline. You're the headline act. And they rock up in the Nightline bus with all their crew, and we're just our little touring party of 5. And it's like, yeah, but we're the headline band, so move over.
Yeah. I got a photo of Dre's kit set up in front of their kit, you know?
Yeah.
And they had all their, we had, no,
Behind would be behind, yeah.
They were set up in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember those French venues, man, where it was dead quiet? Like,
it was so quiet. They're acoustically treated rooms.
Yeah.
And French audiences are really sort of polite, and they'll watch you and they'll maybe clap at the end.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. They won't cheer. They won't. Yeah, I don't know.
I remember that, walking through those venues, like, just to sort of, I was always looking for spots where I could shoot from, get a good wide shot, whatever. And it was like, you could drop a pin and you could hear it before a show. It's like, where's the music? Where's the clinking of glasses? Where's the fun times? Like, go further to Germany and it's the opposite. Hey, everybody's dropping beers and shit.
Well, it's funny you mentioned how quiet it was, because Triggerfinger did this song called My Baby's Got a Gun.
Right.
And there was this bit where they dropped down, went really quiet, and they're just going pluck, pluck, pluck on the strings and all the drums and that. And so they did that in this room in France, and it was like dead silent in there. Everyone's waiting, like no one wants to breathe too loudly while they're playing the quiet bit of the song. Then it builds up to just but everyone's there like Eric Gamer said, I'm finding albums but from Europe, and yep, that doesn't surprise me. It's Australian band with European record label and European everything. It's they're probably gonna be Dutch.
Do you know what
Maybe
else I've got,
Germany,
man? I don't know if you've got this. I've got the original LA, which was self-promoted or self-released, and I've got the Cool Green Recordings LA version. It's the same thing, but
I reckon this is
put it in the center of the
release. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think this one says this one has a MySpace link.
Yeah, that's the original one, dude. Yeah. That's rad, man. Yeah, you haven't got the barcoding on the bottom for mascot. Yeah, that's cool, man. I get up on that kind of stuff because
TRA002. This is number 2.
Tracer 02. I got Devil Ride single as well, which is kind of strange because that Devil Ride CD single was floating around
Get
my
out
house.
of here. Sorry, I just opened it. I haven't opened it in years.
Yeah.
I opened it and went, hang on, I've got the Cool Green mascot disc in here.
But the
I
other
got both.
Oh, you
I got
both.
2.
But you've only got
discs in
one
there.
jewel case. That's weird. You must have it floating around somewhere in your
No,
collection.
you know what I did was I think I said while you were off looking at CDs to the chat, I had this thing of just like, you know what I'm gonna do? That band went, here's the record, and we were in Europe, and I went, this is gonna get broken in my suitcase, and so I picked the one that I went, here's one that they can't sell to the public, and I picked the most cracked out case.
Oh yeah.
And I grabbed that, and so I must have just done the same thing with the record. Oh, is that one scratched? I'll have that. It was probably something like that. Just I'll throw that one in. Sure.
Hey, do you know what, man? Another quick thing, just the cap game, the music guessing game that we play. They'll often pop up like a very obscure, nothing band, and when I'm search, because I'll be like, oh, I don't know why this is in my collection, and I'll go and search Wikipedia or something, and it'll be some lousy band from some small town, and what it is it's a band that either opened for Tracer or someone came to the merch stand and gave a disc, and you know what happened with those discs. Well, before
I do. I'm not going to say on stream.
Yeah, neither am I. Before that happened, I would always rip them because I always have my laptop. So I've got this stuff, just the MP3s of it, and it's like, yeah, where that original disc is, I've no idea. And I think it's funny that it pops up, you know, on the streams because it's all random, so I can't.
I have an inkling where the disc might be.
Yeah. Some.
Yeah.
I also have like shirts and everything. Like I've got like multiple copies of the Rock Palace shirt. Even just like venues that gave us two t-shirts. The band invariably wore it just to sort of make them feel good, like make the venue feel good. Then they either chucked it in the bus and forgot about it or threw it out. I kept all that stuff, and I've got these just weird shirts from bands like never heard of them before. Hey.
I tried to keep some. I didn't get that much. I had. Do you remember those bloody Planet Rock shirts?
Yeah, I've got those. Right, Planet Rock. And I got Mr. Bond,
those.
Mr. Music from Bond, the record store, and I've got the Rock Palace ones. Hendrik, who's a German in the streams here, he's like, dude, can I have one of those Rock Palace shirts? I'm like, not really, hey, because like they mean something to me. I'm damn well keeping them. Yeah.
Yeah, I had multiple of those Planet Rock ones because they were like, yeah, you guys should wear these sometimes, and like they gave them heaps, and it was like, you know, probably started using them to wipe the car down or something. I don't know. They gave us like a box of them, like, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got 3 fresh shirts now this week.
I think I got a few of those still, yeah. But they're still coming through my pile. But dude, man, I got to tell you.
You're still doing the t-shirt rotation.
Oh yeah. How else would I choose?
It's true. It's true.
How else do you choose what you shirt? I mean, I would have worn a shirt today. It would have been Sleep Parade, this Melbourne band. But yeah.
Now, Sleep Parade. I'm
Yes.
glad you brought them up. So they're still around.
Probably not.
I mixed them in Enigma Bar.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
I shot them. They opened for a band called Floating Me, which is kind of like an offshoot from Cog, if I remember correctly.
I remember that name being around. I also saw Sleep Parade HQ opening for Dead Letter Circus, I think.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
At HQ. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey.
I want to say something nasty about them, but I won't. No. I reckon they didn't pay me. I reckon they were like, oh, I got that invoice. Sorry, I meant to pay it, sort of thing, and never got around to it. I was like,
that old gem.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
dude, what's to wrap this up? How's the Adelaide scene? Like, I haven't been in Adelaide for 10 years now. What's cracking?
I don't want to say the C word, but it's pretty weird at the moment with the pandemic.
Right.
I don't know that much about the LA scene at the moment. There's a band I really like at the moment called Kitchen Witch. They had me mix them at Thebby for a festival that was on there.
Oh, is that the Spoz Festival?
Yeah, the Spoz Festival.
So, yeah, cool.
I can't remember what it was called. I've probably got a backstage pass standing up there somewhere for it. But yeah, they're really awesome. The drummer that was in Filthy Lucre is now in that band.
Okay.
Luke Marsh, who was in Filthy Lucre, is now up in Brisbane. So he's doing a thing called LR Marsh, which is really cool. But generally speaking, I haven't been out and around it that much.
Right.
COVID's... We've been dealing with tough restrictions and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm out doing gigs, but, you know, a lot of it's seated and you can't sing and you can't mosh and you can't dance.
Yeah. You know? Are you required to mask up while you're in the venue mixing?
I suppose so. I don't know if I should say this. What I actually sort of do is I'll mask up anytime I'm around the public.
Right.
At
the console.
If I'm at a console that's in a separated booth, that's my office. You know what I mean? And like the lighting tech next to me or whatever, I'm around that guy for, 8-10 hours a day. Yeah. And if either of us had COVID, the mask ain't going to stop it, because the air's going to get saturated at some point. We're that close.
Right.
We're not that close, we've probably got a meter and a half, but the reality is it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm in the booth, I often don't, or I'll just have it just there. And when I'm out around, I actually, I go up and check mics in between performances and stuff with a mask on.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole mic cleaning thing that we do now. I hit them with Glen 20 and prefer stuff like mouthwash or anything like that.
Yeah.
To kill any of the germs, but sometimes when I don't want to do that, I'll just check it through a mask.
Yeah.
And sure, be muffled, but it's like I know what I know what I'm listening to. I know what I'm hearing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I had a chat with James Emming yesterday.
Oh, great! Yep.
Yeah, remember
I mixed his band, his Motorhead band, the other week at the Gov.
Motorhead band. I thought he had a Pantera.
Killed by Death. He's got a Pantera band as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's in the chat here sometimes on D Live. Yeah, you remember I do that regular gig for him once every year or so. Last time I saw you was when I was over there doing it 2 years ago now. Yeah, he's like, oh, we got to get you back over for this gig, but I can't. Like, South Australia doesn't accept flights coming in from New South Wales. Like, if I was to do that, I got to go via Queensland, and then I've got to quarantine 2 weeks in Queensland, and then quarantine 2 weeks in Adelaide. So that's 4 weeks before I've even done the job, which doesn't make any sense. So, yeah. Otherwise, I'd be over there.
At the moment. I did a national tour earlier this year, and I say it's a lot, but it seems like a fantasy that happened. I went somewhere in between the lockdowns. We forged a national tour.
Yeah, wow.
A weekend, and it was really weird because we rescheduled a couple of dates, but we still did them. Right. One of them was literally we rescheduled Perth because we went to Melbourne, and there'd been an outbreak in Melbourne, and it was all cleaned up already. And people were moshing at the venue, and it was packed out. And it was awesome. And the laws in WA at the time still considered Melbourne to be a hotspot, and so we weren't allowed into Perth. And so we rescheduled Perth. But it was like, if we'd come from Adelaide, we could have gone to Perth.
Yeah.
Was the way the tour was sort of booked. And then because we went to Melbourne, we couldn't. And then the band were actually at the gates of the airport to go to Coolangatta and Brisbane. And Brisbane was having an outbreak, and the band went, what do we do? And talked to the staff, and they went, look, we'll you get not your money back, but they'll credit your flight or whatever. And look, this stuff, it's going to get worse before it gets better every time. So they made the decision not to get on the plane, and if they'd gotten on that plane, they would have been isolating for 2 weeks on the way back. They would have maybe done the gig, and people were annoyed at them they didn't do the gig, and they're like, look, you got to be kidding me. Your city's breaking out. We're touring. We're not going to get home, Yeah. And I was off to do a festival in Darwin that week. So I was going to be, Coolangatta on Saturday, Brisbane Sunday, and then Darwin on the Wednesday to do a festival, and it was like if I'd gone to Brisbane, I wouldn't have been able to go to the Territory to do that work, and you know, it was 3 days worth of work at a festival. So
it's hard, man. Yeah,
it's really hard, but you know, I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm still employed. I'm still getting work, and you know, right after I get off this podcast, I'm going to drive to Victor Harbour and do a gig. So
you got a Victor Harbour gig? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, yep.
Dude,
yeah.
I do miss Adelaide like that. Like, yeah, but it is what it is. Well, dude, man, look, I could talk like this all the time about Tracer and yap and remind stories, and it's such a good part of my life. I'm sure it's same for you. It's like, yeah, I'm thankful that you were here with me to do this, man. So thanks for giving me your time. Do you want to shill yourself? Like, where can people? I know you don't really do the social stuff, but how can we book you?
I don't do any of that. I basically have a Facebook, and that's it. I have a Facebook, and you don't even see photos of my cat. It's just a couple of photos of some gigs, and that's it.
Is that your personal one, or do you have a mixing
It is
sound
just
one?
my personal one. I never bothered to get a sound one, and for all intents and purposes, it actually functions more like just a business one.
For instance, I asked Lockie before this stream, do you have a logo or anything you want me to use in artwork? And he's like, nah. I said, what about a font that you like? Nah, don't even have that. so
it's funny being a sound guy, because I don't know if I even really have a business name. I don't even my invoices are made in Microsoft Word.
And you just use your first and last name.
Don't even have stickers on them. I'm trying to get on top of that and get some stickers on my mics so people don't steal my mics. But so far, I've only ever had mics stolen once, and that was because I left at a festival overnight and someone jumped the fence, got in.
Oh shit!
You know, a couple of these got stolen, but anyway, got them back from insurance.
What is that mic you've got there?
That's my Heil PR35. Shout out to Heil Microphones. Please endorse me. I love your mics, but they're very expensive.
Are they? Yeah. Okay. Is that like a vocal mic, or is it just what you're just using it for the podcast, or is that for something else usually?
These you will have seen on a Guitar Cab on Tracer shows. They are a large diaphragm dynamic mic, so people do use them for vocals. They are actually kind of a bit like, I guess, a EVRE20. I don't know if you're familiar with them, the broadcast mic.
I don't know that.
No, they're like a big, long, tubular mic that look kind of like this. It's a similar thing. I do like the large diaphragm dynamic mics because you get a smoother low end response, and
it does sound good, man. Like, I got to tell you.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I hope it's coming good across YouTube. I've put my windsock on it and that, you know.
Yeah. What are you running it into there? What's your sound? Sound?
Look, I've just got an old MBox 3 here. I don't run a fancy interface in my home studio yet. No. One of these days, if I ever had enough income, I might get a Universal Apollo, but I don't have one yet. All of my gear that I've spent money on is all live stuff, you know. So I've got a Midas M32 racked up console that I can tour with. I can throw it on a plane, and it's 20 kilos in a case.
Yeah.
I have to control it with a tablet, but hey, that's fine. I do that.
I've seen that tablet
in my bag. Yeah.
When you put up on people were saying, oh, you can get better ones for this and that, and you're like, dude, this is perfect and it's super cheap. Don't need it to look good, just needs to work.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how far the sound tech has come in the 10, 12, 13 years I've been doing it, or 15 since I started studying it or whatever. I've gone from where everything was analog to we had crappy digital consoles that I hate to now I couldn't live without digital, and I would barely consider having an analog console in front of me.
Wow.
That's where we've gone.
It's gone that 10, far to years. It's all digital or it's nothing. Wow, man.
Yeah. I mean, if someone put a Midas Heritage 3K in front of me, all right, I'll use it. Those consoles, those big Midas consoles that they had in those venues in France, Benin, someone was selling one of them online for like $7,000 now. They weigh about 430 kilos in their case.
Whoa.
If you ever have to lift one up a set of stairs, it takes 8 people. And yes, I have done that.
Oh, shit.
No one tours them anymore.
Yeah.
They haven't even really made it into venues. They're in a couple of venues in the UK and stuff last time we were there.
Right.
But no, analog has become just so antiquated because it's so big and heavy, and no one tours it anymore. So,
speaking of loading in and loading out, I was going to ask you worst load-ins that you can remember. I got one that springs straight to the mind, but I'll see what you've got to say.
Thekla.
Yeah, Thekla was the boat, wasn't it?
Thekla's the boat. If anyone on the stream wants to know what Thekla looks like, there's an episode of Skins where they have a party on Thekla.
Oh, do they really? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't. I'd seen the episode many times without realizing that it was Thekla.
Yeah. That was a shitty dressing room too, like because you're in the hull of a boat. It's like the edges are like
just absolute rubbish. It's like actually being in a submarine or something.
Yeah,
you're right down in the hull, like so you're not in the top of the boat. You're right down, so you get onto this boat from a ramp. There's probably cobblestones before you even get there, and that's no fun anyway.
Yeah.
And you go down this metal staircase that's really steep, and you're like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna have a base cab on top of me.
Yeah.
120 kilos of Jet's base cab on top of me, and it's gonna be the last you see in a Lockie.
Do you recall? Oh, sorry, go.
Showers? Do you remember the showers in there? Because they got maybe one pipe sending water into this boat. And when everyone's flushing the toilet or using the basins, you go to have a shower in this boat, and you just soak yourself up.
Out. Yeah.
And you turn the water on, and you got a bit of flow of water, and you're like, oh yeah, and then that's it.
I do remember
no water, just a trickle, and you're like, I'm covered in soap.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, that venue. It was actually a good venue, good gig to play.
Yeah.
They put a good PA in there by the end of it. I think they had a different PA earlier on, but what a head fuck to do a gig in a boat. Yeah,
and what's the point? Like, you're in a boat, big whoop. Like, a boat that can't move?
Doesn't move. It's a boat that's moored in
it's
their
stupid, hey? It's a stupid concept. Unless you're going to go out and travel in that boat and go and moor up in some island or something, that's stupid. It's like saying, I got this car, doesn't have an engine.
Yeah, and they'll serve you Fosters on the boat too. It's not like they're giving you're not like in the Caribbean with like a coconut, martini or something. I don't know what you put in coconuts, rum.
Do you recall Birmingham? One of the O2 academies.
Oh no, that was messed up.
That
was
horrendous.
No, let me get this straight. It was an O2 something in Birmingham. There was an elevator, and they went, no, this is our elevator for like wheelchairs or something. You can't put your gear in it. And
it was an epic. Like we were up five different stories.
It felt like about 4 or 5 stories.
Yeah. And there was a long wheel in too before you even got to the stairs. Like it wasn't just like drive right up to the edge of the stairs and up you go. It was like you're way back over there. Everything's got to be wheeled in or walked in. And then you got to go up these epic steel stairs. Then you got to do zigzags back and across and up and down. And then there's a few of these kind of venues, but the backstage room, the only access was off stage. So you had to go
walk across the stage
to get to the backstage room. It's literally a backstage room, like quite literally by the definition, which sounds fun, but realistically unusable throughout the showtime. You're either in there or you're on stage. It's like I couldn't go in and get camera lenses. I couldn't go and get Jack. I couldn't do any.
I don't know if there was even a toilet backstage.
You're probably right. I don't think there was.
I don't know if there was even a toilet. There might have been, but I don't know if there was even a sink. It was, but then after all of that, the venue was like a tunnel shape, and it sounded horrible. Right. And I reckon they had a Yamaha LS9 out the front, which I hate, and want to use as a boat anchor.
Take it to the Thekla and just throw it overboard.
Yeah, that's it. That'd be the one good thing for the Thekla is you could throw a Yamaha LS9 off of it. Sorry, can't do it without mentioning how much I used to hate turning up on a tour and having a Yamaha LS9 in front of me. That means nothing to anyone on the stream. I'm sorry.
I don't know what an LS mine is, but I appreciate that you could tweak it to work, man. You did good jobs, man. Like I mean, like I said, dude, I could yak on like this forever.
We could.
But so like if you're gonna promote yourself, just add you on Facebook is what you're saying.
Probably, yeah. Look, I mean, I don't promote anything anyway. Look, if you're in Adelaide and you need a sound guy or you want to be really generous and fly me somewhere and take me on tour,
dude,
hit me up on Facebook. That's pretty much it.
There it is. He got his name, Lachlan Sheehan. You can find him there. I'd recommend it, dude. Lucky, thanks again, man. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Benin.
My pleasure, dude. My pleasure. And yeah, I was gonna say let's do this again, but that'd just be selfish because we just want to talk and yak. But we will do that. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes I might forget that I'm on a podcast. I'll just talk.
Yeah, there are things that we specifically kept off the conversation list. But
yeah.
All right, man. Thanks, dude. Catch you next time, buddy.
Will do.
All right. Oh, I cut him off too quick there. Sorry, that's my bad, dudes. That was cool, right? That's cool. I'm really thankful for Lucky for giving us his time here. How long have we yacked for? Over 2 hours. I could easily continue this conversation over and over. And you know what will be rad? Doing that with a few jacks, and then just maybe even doing it on a D live stream where we can play music as well. That could be just. I mean, ultimately, it's kind of like you guys, the givers, always ask me about Tracer, and I'm happy to talk about it, right? But it is better when there's somebody else that was involved to also have that conversation. So what I'm saying is, if you guys benefited from this and you still want more and you want to hear more stories and whatever, and you demand that we have Lockie back again some other time, then I'll reevaluate and we'll decide. Otherwise, you'll just get me every now and then on the Cap game when a Tracer desk recording or a Tracer track comes up. You'll get me just yapping about that band until you end up walking away from the stream, because that's something that's very close to my heart, very, very fond memories, and it is good to share those things. So thank you all for being here with me, and Era, I enjoyed this. Thanks, Ben and Lockie. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. I know, like I said, I know we didn't really engage the chat here too much. I guess that's just the nature of having a conversation with somebody else. But yeah, I appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed the replay, you're watching this on a replay, leave a comment and share this out with all your friends. And I'll see you yahoos next time on the stream, whenever that is. Next week, I guess. Yeah. See you then. Get that out of here. Get him out of here.